The manhwa opens with a girl staring blankly at her reflection in the mirror. She wonders who this girl really is. Deep down, she already knows what awaits her: the count, the concubine, and that dismissed chef. The so-called feeding time is about to begin, but she couldn't care less. With a sigh that turns into defiance, she throws the door open and steps out. The scene shifts to the actual female protagonist, just getting off work. She's coming straight from the office, exhausted, because once again she left the train late today. She thinks she might finally get home before midnight, for once. But as she approaches her apartment building, that tiny spark of hope fades. Her mind drifts to her boyfriend, and she guesses he's probably brought another girl over again. Of course he has. The guy's honestly terrible. She remembers how, out of nowhere, he quit his job, moved into her apartment, begged her to pay for his smartphone bills, his allowance, and basically spent his days mooching around doing nothing. She's thought about breaking up with him so many times, but she never could. Even with all that, some part of her believes maybe, just maybe, he still needs her. After all, she's not exactly innocent herself. She once ran away from home to escape a forced marriage to a man 20 years older than her. Back then, she thought she was saving her own future. She found what she believed was a great job at a black company, thinking things might finally turn around. But then came him, that leech of a boyfriend, and everything spiraled. Now her stomach growls painfully. She wonders if she should just eat the side dishes she bought without him finding out. If he sees her eating without asking, would he hit her again? She remembers how she used to dream about being surrounded by a kind husband and adorable children. How did things turn out like this? That thought barely finishes when a truck suddenly swerves into her lane. The driver blatantly ignores the traffic light. Her body tenses, but strangely, she isn't scared. She closes her eyes, feeling everything fade into stillness. Then, out of the dark, a voice echoes asking if she's listening. They say the investigation is over, and she can't make any excuses anymore. Confusion hits like a slap. Literally, someone strikes her across the face. Her vision clears, and she sees a man before her, Ryan, her lover. Only, something feels completely wrong. She realizes she's not in her apartment anymore. He's standing over her, cold and furious, demanding she confess. Her mind spins as flashes of memory strike an accusation of embezzling the night's funds. Panic surges. She insists to herself that she didn't do it. Ryan doesn't believe her. He accuses her of sneaking off to some village, spending the money to pay off her debts. Her thoughts trip over themselves. She wants to deny it, to scream that he's wrong, but before she can, he calls her name. Angelica. Her whole body freezes. That name doesn't make sense. But he's still talking, telling her that she's fired as of today and that she'll have to return every penny she took. The words echo through her like ice water. She drops to her knees, anger and disbelief colliding inside her chest. Sure, she's wished for her company to explode 100 times over. Who wouldn't? But that doesn't mean she's the kind of person who'd commit a crime. Then another realization crashes in. Why does he keep talking about nights? Why does she work in a place like that? And what's with this weird outfit she's wearing? Her heart pounds as her mind spins. She's not the same person anymore. Something's off, so off it's terrifying. What the hell is going on? Ryan doesn't care about her confusion. With a cold expression, he orders his men to lock her up. She barely manages to process what's happening before they grab her. Just like that, he turns his back and walks away, leaving her shouting after him. And from that moment on, the girl once known as Angelica is dragged into a nightmare she doesn't even understand. Angelica, formerly the daughter of a poor baron, had always struggled to make ends meet. Life wasn't kind, but she fought through it, taking any chance she could find to earn a living. Eventually, she landed a position as a cook for the prestigious Matisse Knights, a place of power and reputation. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and that was enough. Somewhere along the way, she fell hopelessly in love with the head of the Knights, the same man who would later betray her, Ryan, that heartless bastard who now stood at the center of her downfall. Now, she's being branded as an embezzler. The label sticks to her name like a curse. And yet, deep within her, something begins to stir memories that don't belong to Angelica at all. Because once, she wasn't Angelica. Once, she was Ike, a 23-year-old woman from another world. She remembers her mentors, her struggles, her ordinary yet precious life. The realization hits her hard and cold. It's unbelievable, but she's been reincarnated into someone else's body. Into this person's body. Into Angelica. At first, the familiarity of everything nags at her. The castle, the uniforms, the names, it all rings a bell somewhere deep in her mind. Then it clicks. The Eclaton Kingdom. The noble houses. The knights who could wield magic. It's the setting of that game. It's the game, the Otone game she used to obsess over. The stage is the Eclaton Kingdom, where only high-ranking nobles can use magic. The protagonist? A commoner girl with mysterious powers who can cast multiple spells. A game of romance, politics, and magic that she spent countless nights playing. Ayaka can barely breathe. She can't believe it. She's actually been reincarnated into the world of her favorite game? The one she used to play non-stop until her phone battery gave up? It's insane. On paper, this should be a total dream come true, a fantasy rebirth in a world she adored. But reality hits like a slap in the face. Now is not the time to be happy. Because she hasn't been reborn as the protagonist, but as the villainess. The one who's about to be executed for embezzlement, a crime she never committed. As she sits in the cold, damp cell, she can't help but think about Ryan again. Why does he look younger than he should? Then a horrifying thought crosses her mind. Maybe this is before the main story begins. Maybe she's in the prologue, the part where everything goes wrong for the villainess before the real heroine even appears. She sighs deeply. It doesn't matter anyway. Whatever point in the story this is, it's not like she can fix anything from a prison cell. She's destined to die here, branded a criminal. She thinks bitterly that maybe next time, if reincarnation is real, she'd rather be born as a bird, something free, something that can fly away from all this nonsense. A week passes in suffocating silence. Then, one morning, a knight appears at her cell door and orders her to come out. Her stomach drops. It feels like the end. This must be it, the time for her execution. She swears to herself that she's innocent, but no one cares. Her heart races, hands trembling, but she forces herself to stand. At this moment, she has no idea that everything, the people, the world, the story she thought she knew is about to twist in ways she could never imagine. She is about to get on the carriage, her hands trembling as the realization sinks in. She's sure they're heading straight to the execution ground. Looking back, she can see where the nightmare began. It all started 2 months ago, right after she became the cook for the knights, assigned there under Captain Ryan's orders. He was the one who first told her that he liked her, and soon after, she also grew used to sneaking around with him. That day, she is all set to make a delicious dinner, slipping through the corridors like a shadow. Sneaking in is such a hassle, but it can't be helped. Ryan clearly doesn't want their relationship to be public in front of the others, and she gets it. So she plays along, quietly. The scene shifts, her face turns pale as she calls out to Ryan. He looks at her, confused, while she's frozen in disbelief. He even ate her portion too. Just when she was busy washing the dishes, he casually explained that it wouldn't have tasted good once it got cold, so he just ate it. She can't believe it, like seriously? Especially since she's the one paying for all the food expenses. He's already hyped up, asking her to prepare desserts too, and she can't help but stare at him. He looks way too happy, devouring everything in that room. And just like that, before she even realizes it, she goes broke, completely broke. Nights blur into each other as she keeps washing dishes until late hours, too tired to even complain. She convinces herself that he's working hard too, being a knight and all, so maybe she should just support him no matter what. One night, she sneaks into the kitchen again, thinking about what to cook for dinner this time. But then, she freezes. There's a sound, a voice, a laugh. Someone's kissing Ryan and calling out his name. Her heart just drops. She can't believe what she's hearing. So this is what it comes down to. In the end, she was nothing more than a convenient cook, wasn't she? The next day, she is accused of embezzlement, a completely false charge. Her mind spins as she tries to make sense of it all. She wonders if there will be some kind of trial or hearing, but the place she's taken to looks eerily familiar. Wait, this seems to be her house, so it isn't a death sentence, after all, just a demotion to commoner status. Still, if that's the case, her parents will definitely throw her into a brothel or prison to pay off their debt. The thought weighs on her chest like a stone, leaving her heavy-hearted. She's told to get off the carriage, her steps slow and unsure. Then her eyes catch on another carriage parked nearby, new, polished, unfamiliar. But that emblem. It's not one she recognizes from her world. A maid steps down gracefully, bowing as she tells her that the master and the guest are waiting in the living room, urging her to hurry. Angelica can't understand why there's even a guest here for her, but she follows anyway. The gates open, and the moment she enters, her father's face turns stormy. He snaps that she's finally arrived, scolding her for being late and demanding to know if she took some kind of detour. Her mother joins in, voice sharp with frustration, lashing out that because of her, the barony is about to get crushed. Angelica freezes, but before the tension can rise further, another figure steps forward, asking everyone to calm down. She turns toward the voice and sees him, so this is the person who came to see her. He introduces himself as the butler of the Arson family. She blinks, confused, mumbling an awkward okay, but her mind races. Did he just say Count Knightley? As in that Count Knightley family? The Knightley Count family is known for guarding the southern borders of Eckleton with their powerful magic. But one day, a rebellion broke out in their territory. The rebels set fire to the entire mansion without mercy, leaving many servants to burn inside. The heir, Nej, barely escaped with his life, consumed by hatred ever since. His only goal now is to destroy the Eckleton kingdom itself. Nej Knightley, she remembers now. He's one of the captured targets in the game, and it's supposed to be one of the best routes. Her mom taps her arm, snapping her out of her thoughts, and tells her that the Knightley Count is willing to cover up her embezzlement charges, but in return, they'll marry her off to him. Angelica's heart almost stops. This is not good news. Why would she marry into that cursed household? Her father adds sharply that this marriage is their only condition to pay off the family's debt and keep her crime from going public. She thinks about it. Sure, it sounds like a deal. But being involved with someone connected to rebellion? Not great. Shira, the count in question, doesn't even have a formal portrait, but his reputation is infamous. Worse than Ryan, honestly. A total womanizer with too many mistresses to count. His first wife even took her own life because of him. On top of that, he's an extremely picky eater, the kind who throws fits if the food isn't perfect and makes cooks redo entire meals. Many of them have already been fired because of his impossible standards. And he's not just temperamental, he's also extremely overweight due to his reckless lifestyle. People even call him the gluttonous count. Hearing all this, her mother glares at her and tells her to apologize immediately. Angelica feels the weight of it all pressing down on her, and she drops to her knees, her voice trembling as she says she's truly sorry. The butler tilts his head, finding this a rather unique way to apologize, then kneels as well, saying he understands that she doesn't wish to marry Shira. Angelica, startled, quickly denies it, blurting out that this isn't the case at all. The butler brightens instantly, his whole demeanor shifting into cheer. If that's really true, he seems delighted. Angelica has no clue what's even happening anymore. Her mind's a mess, and everything's piling up way too fast. But in the middle of all that chaos, something inside her steadies. She takes a breath, her resolve hardening. With a firm nod, she declares that yes, she will gladly accept the proposal. He asks her if she's really accepting it, and when she nods, he seems genuinely relieved, as if he always had this quiet faith that she would. With a faint smile, he tells her that in that case, she should pack her things and leave with him immediately. Today, Shira will officially take custody of her. Angelica's heart twists. She can barely hold back tears as she thinks how lucky she is to at least still breathe free air. She quickly gathers herself and tells the butler she's sorry for keeping him waiting. Honestly, it doesn't take her long. She only owns 3 dresses, no personal belongings, nothing that could delay her. Within 5 minutes, she's ready to go. The butler gently suggests she should say goodbye to her parents before leaving. But when she turns to them, her heart sinks deeper. Her parents don't even try to pretend sadness. Her father snaps that there's no need for formalities and that she should just go already. They don't want to keep a criminal under their roof any longer. Angelica forces a small, trembling smile and thanks them for raising her all these years, even if the words taste like ash on her tongue. Her mother only scoffs, warning her not to come crying back if she ends up abandoned by Shira. Angelica bows slightly, murmuring a quiet, "I understand." That's it. No hugs, no tearful farewells, just cold walls and colder hearts. She straightens up, wipes her eyes, and steps into the waiting carriage. The moment she sits, she's caught off guard. The seat is unbelievably soft, almost cloud-like, and for once, her body doesn't ache from sitting. She can't help but whisper to herself that she never knew carriages could feel this comfortable. As the horses begin to move, the rhythmic sound of their hooves fills the air. She glances out the window and sees the butler walking beside the carriage, checking his pocket watch. The whole scene gives off a strong European medieval vibe, and for a fleeting moment, she almost forgets her worries. If only their destination weren't the Knightley mansion, she could have maybe enjoyed this little trip. When they finally arrive, the mansion looms grand and pristine before her. Inside, the butler gathers the servants and introduces her as the master's future wife. The words feel too heavy for her to process. Angelica bows politely, saying she's new and will humbly rely on everyone's guidance. A woman with a graceful posture steps forward and introduces herself as Lara, the main maid assigned to serve her. Angelica blinks, a bit confused. She's been taking care of herself her whole life. Having someone serve her feels foreign, almost awkward. Lara, however, smiles warmly and says she'll guide Angelica to her room and help her cleanse her body afterward. That last part makes Angelica a little self-conscious. Does she smell bad or something? She quickly lowers her head, cheeks flushed, following Lara through the elegant hallway. Meanwhile, From the corner of the corridor, a little girl peeks out curiously, watching them. Her wide eyes follow Angelica as she passes, quietly wondering if this newcomer is some kind of guest. After the shower, Lara gently works on Angelica's hair, her hands moving with expert grace. It soon becomes clear that the entire washing process was more about caring for her hair than anything else. The fragrant oils and warm water leave Angelica feeling lighter than she has in years. Lara smiles and tells her to take her time, to enjoy the bath and relax a little more. It's her moment to breathe. For Angelica, the whole experience feels like heaven. The warmth, the softness, the care, it's something she never thought she'd ever experience again. But the moment she remembers the reason behind all this pampering, her chest tightens. This is all just preparation to present her polished self to that big, fat Count Shira. She's heard plenty of rumors about him before, back when she worked for the Matisse Night Order. Everyone said Count Shira had a terrible time finding a second wife. Every noble daughter in the kingdom rejected his proposals. In short, no one wanted to marry him. So in the end, they must have decided to buy her instead. Thinking about that makes her sigh deeply. Her second life sure isn't going easy on her. When she's finally dressed, she glances at the mirror and freezes. For a moment, she doesn't recognize herself. The tired, dull-faced woman staring back has completely transformed into someone who looks like a princess. Her skin glows, her hair shines like silk, and her dress sparkles faintly under the light. She blinks in disbelief. Lara beams proudly beside her, saying she looks absolutely beautiful. A knock sounds at the door. Angelica's stomach flips. This must be it. Outside, the butler's voice carries faintly through the hall as he informs, "Count, Lady Angelica has arrived." Her heartbeat spikes when she steps into the room and makes eye contact with him. For a moment, her brain short-circuits. The man standing there isn't the big, fat Count she imagined. His fitted suit accentuates his tall, lean frame, and his features are sharp and refined. Wait, this is Count Shira? The Count smiles slightly, his tone cool yet intrigued. Well, she's quite a young and beautiful lady. Angelica feels her world spin. Oh, no. It's really over for me now. Still, she keeps her composure, bows deeply, and introduces herself as Angelica, daughter of Baron Lien. Count Shira studies her with quiet amusement and remarks that she seems like an honest girl. Then, almost casually, he adds that she should please take care of his nephew. That throws her off completely. Nephew? She looks around in confusion until her eyes land on a young man sitting nearby. He greets her with a charming face and says it's nice to meet her. His face is surprisingly handsome, almost familiar. Angelica frowns slightly, trying to recall if there was anyone like him mentioned in the game's storyline, but nothing comes to mind. Before she can ask anything, the butler gently clarifies that the young man before her is actually Count Shira himself. Angelica freezes, her thoughts go completely blank for a second. Wait, what? That's him? And just like that, her brain practically short-circuits. She realizes now, so this guy is the actual Count, not that fat one she saw earlier. The butler calmly explains that the man she mistook for the Count is actually Count Shira's uncle. Apparently, some people had gotten the two confused, mixing up the uncle and the nephew. The uncle himself adds that it's also possible someone spread the confusion out of sheer malice. Saying that, he decides to leave, his tone polite yet distant. Poor Angelica can't make sense of what's happening at all. Nothing about this situation adds up. She's never heard a single thing about such a handsome man being the master of the house, and honestly, she finds it hard to believe. Her heart feels like it's about to burst. Then, Shira calls out to her. His voice, even more charming than his face, makes her freeze for a second. He thanks her for accepting his request and expresses his deep gratitude. Angelica, overwhelmed and flustered, can only think that she's actually the one who should be grateful. Not only did he pay off her debt, but he even wants to marry her. Before she can even process that thought, he states that their discussion is done for now. She's left blinking in confusion, thinking, what? He then casually mentions that he'll submit the marriage registration later and tells her to reach out to Arsene or Lara if she ever needs anything. He'll try to provide whatever she requires, but he doesn't even look at her once while saying all that. His whole vibe screams indifference. It's clear that he's treating this like pure obligation. The butler turns to her then, his tone soft and sympathetic, explaining that the master would have married anyone who accepted the proposal. That line hits her like a slap. She stares at him, trying to understand what he means. The butler, with a heavy sigh, explains further there's an old custom in the knightly Count family. The head of the household must always have a wife, no matter what. If the previous wife passes away, a new one must be taken immediately, regardless of the circumstances. Suddenly, everything makes sense why they chose someone like Angelica. The budding spark of affection she had felt just moments ago instantly withers away. The butler, clearly guilt-ridden, apologizes sincerely for deceiving her, but Angelica brushes it off, her tone calm but tired. He hasn't done anything wrong, she tells herself. In fact, he saved her from ruin. Frankly speaking, this whole thing is nothing but a political marriage anyway. Still, her living conditions are now guaranteed, at least that's one thing she can count on. That's definitely a big change from before. The servants here actually seem kind and gentle. She guesses she'll just have to accept it. Her steps take her toward the garden, where the fresh air helps her think. The place is stunningly beautiful, and the soft scent of flowers carried by the wind feels like therapy for her weary heart. For the first time in a while, her troubled mind starts to calm down. While she's wandering among the blossoms, she suddenly spots a small child looking up at her with curious eyes, asking who she is. Angelica blinks, startled and confused for a moment, wondering who this adorable little one might be. The kid is honestly too cute, so innocent, pure, and full of life. A maid rushes over, gently calling the child Nej. At that name, Angelica freezes. She's sure she's heard it before. This has to be one of the capture characters. Her chest tightens a little. Nej looks so sweet, way too cute for the cruel fate she knows is coming. In every route of the game, except for the individual endings, Nej always dies caught up in the rebellion that brings ruin to the kingdom. It's tragic. To think that this beautiful child, who looks almost angelic, would become her son one day. It's heartbreaking. But something feels off. Nej looks a bit too delicate, almost like a girl. Angelica wonders if it's just part of the culture here, maybe a preference for soft looks, but still, it's hard to ignore. Then, the maid casually mentions that this is Shira's daughter, Nej. Angelica nearly drops right there, her mind blank. Wait, daughter? She can't believe it. Nej is actually a girl? But in the game, Nej was a boy. Her knees hit the ground as the truth hits her. So this is the girl who was once disguised as a boy, who lost her family, and had nowhere to belong, choosing to live as a man just to survive. Angelica can't even imagine how hard that must have been. Still, something about that loneliness feels painfully familiar. Just like Nej, she too had been left alone, carrying her pain in silence. Remembering how Nej eventually died in the story, her chest tightens again. She won't let this child have such a miserable fate. Right then and there, she quietly decides that she'll protect her no matter what. Everyone might be expecting her to just sit around and wait for the heroine to show up, but absolutely not. She's done being weak, done being indecisive. The maid, smiling warmly, explains that Angelica is now officially Nej's mother. The words make the little girl light up instantly. She beams and throws her tiny arms around Angelica, hugging her with pure joy, babbling about how happy she is to finally have a mother. Angelica's eyes fill with tears as she hugs her back. How did she get such an adorable, precious daughter? Still, as she looks down at Nej, another thought crosses her mind. Maybe the child doesn't remember her real mother. And beyond that, there's something else, something heavier. Nej seems to be carrying a secret, a burden much bigger than anyone realizes. It's been a quiet afternoon for Angelica when the butler approaches her, holding a neatly sealed envelope in his gloved hands. He politely informs her that a letter has arrived, apparently from her elder sister. Angelica blinks in surprise, completely thrown off. Her sister? That doesn't make sense. Back home, Charlotte had never even bothered to acknowledge her existence, let alone send her a letter. Still, she takes the envelope, curiosity pricking at her chest, and breaks the seal. The moment she begins to read, her confusion only deepens. The letter claims that her fiancé is Ryan. That one line alone almost makes her drop the paper. Her thoughts go wild. Ryan? Of all people? The rest of the letter is filled with Charlotte's usual arrogance and vanity. She writes about how bored she already is of her new dress, whining that she needs another one, something fresher, grander, and of course, new accessories to match. Angelica can almost hear her sister's dramatic tone through the words. Then the letter drifts into something that makes Angelica's skin crawl, a memory from before. Charlotte once stormed into the drawing room, furious about some decorative vase she didn't like. She asked who had prepared it, and when the maid answered timidly, Charlotte had hurled it right against the wall, shattering it to pieces. Without a hint of remorse, she had turned and fired the poor maid on the spot. That was Charlotte, cruel, spoiled, and dangerously self-centered. Angelica remembers another instance, where Charlotte bragged that even if someone wasn't a noble, she'd bring him to their mansion if he happened to be handsome enough, just because she could. Their butler had once tried to talk sense into her, saying that the man she was obsessing over was already married. But Charlotte, being who she was, had even gone as far as asking their father to break up that marriage for her. She had always been like that, looking down on Angelica, treating her like she was nothing. Angelica can still recall the day Charlotte pushed her near the staircase. She had almost fallen then, barely managing to grab the banister in time. If she hadn't, she might have been seriously injured or worse. And yet, even after that, their parents said nothing. They had always turned a blind eye to Charlotte's cruelty, acting as if Angelica's pain didn't matter. For years, Angelica used to wonder why her parents were so cold to her, why their affection never reached her. Over time, she got used to it, numbed herself to the unfairness, the loneliness. But reading that letter now, all those old wounds start to ache again. She flinches suddenly, caught off guard by the rush of emotion. Laura, who happens to be nearby, notices her reaction and gently asks what's wrong this time. Angelica's lips part, her voice trembling slightly as she mutters that she just remembered something she had missed before. That voice she heard back then, the one that came from Ryan. It wasn't just familiar. It was Charlotte's. Angelica is so panicked she barely notices anything around her. In a flustered half-joke, she even asks Laura to prepare a bazooka for her because, low-key, there are definitely people she'd love to scorch at the Knightley Mansion dining room the next day. The bed is unbelievably fluffy, though, and despite the chaos, she sleeps better than she expects. Morning comes and little Nedge is up early to greet Angelica. Angelica returns the greeting, but she notices Nedge isn't nearly as energetic as usual. Maybe it's just her imagination. She also notices Shira is missing. Laura explains that Shira is eating in his room. He's always like that and that he's swamped with work. Angelica forces a smile for the cute kid. She wants to say something genuine, to tell Nedge it's okay, but sometimes even the smallest moments feel complicated. Still, they would all be happy if they could share a meal with him afterward. Nedge says she wants to eat with her father too, and Angelica, trying to understand, wonders if Nedge actually doesn't like him. Laura points out that Nedge only eats a little. Angelica asks if the child is a picky eater. Nedge takes a few tiny bites and then claims she is full. Angelica is totally shocked. How could Nedge be full from so little when Angelica herself hasn't eaten at all? Then she notices Nedge is crying. Without thinking, Nedge runs off. Angelica jumps up to follow, but a maid stops her and tells her it's fine, that they'll look after the child, and asks Angelica to please return to the meal. Angelica sits back down at the table but can't eat. Worry gnaws at her. Nedge doesn't come back to the dining room, and the empty chair hangs over Angelica like a small, sharp worry she can't shake. She's left staring at the place where the child should be, feeling more shook than she expected, because tiny things keep stacking into something huge. In the end, she can't even eat her food at all and returns to her room in silence. The next day, she tells Laura that she has nothing for him to say, so she can leave for today. But Laura argues that, actually, Shira has ordered her not to leave her side. Then it suddenly hits her. She apologizes sincerely, saying that if she's done something wrong, she's super sorry. Yet the more Angelica thinks about it, the more she's sure that, for them, she's basically treated like a criminal. Of course, they've put some surveillance on her. She understands Shira's feelings, though, so she tries not to worry too much about it. Then the maid asks if she already knows about Joanna. Angelica wonders if there was any character named that and if she's related to someone whose name they're not even allowed to say. The two of them seem to think of something, but before Angelica can ask more, they hear a commotion. Angelica rushes to see that Shira is scolding Nedge again for leaving her meal unfinished. Nedge tries to explain something, but Shira doesn't listen. She adds sharply that Nedge should at least try to eat all the good food that's given to her. At this rate, she's going to become malnourished. Nedge, crying hard now, insists that she doesn't want to eat. Shira tries to pat her gently, telling her that she's troubling the maids because of her selfishness, but Nedge shouts back that he's the real stupid one. Then she starts crying even louder. With that, Shira leaves, clearly exhausted. Angelica can tell this is a major conflict. Nedge's refusal to eat feels really serious. But even though Shira storms along like that, not even listening, the reason behind all this still feels kind of stupid. Angelica turns to Laura, quietly wondering why Nedge refuses to eat at all. Laura explains that the doctor said Nedge has developed a fear of food. Angelica starts to wonder if something happened in the past. She can see that Laura is about to fetch silence for this too, but Angelica really wants to know. She starts pondering it herself, thinking hard. She's sure they need to create an environment where Nedge can eat freely without fear. An hour later, they still can't think of anything. Honestly, Angelica has zero experience in raising children. Till now, she's only made various dishes but nothing like this situation. It's giving her low-key anxiety, but she knows she can't just stand by. Angelica thinks that maybe children might like something simple, but then again, it could be that Nedge is scared of the dining table itself. So, she tries feeding her inside her room instead, but that doesn't help either. If only she knew the reason behind Nej's fear of food, it could actually help her fix it. She decides to start thinking from Nej's perspective what could possibly scare her so much that she can't even eat. Maybe someone eating her portion without telling her? Something clicks in Angelica's mind. She immediately asks Lara to bring her something to write with. Once she gets it, she writes something quickly on the paper, then asks Lara to prepare everything exactly as written. Lara looks confused, wondering what Angelica is planning to make. Angelica just grins and says no, they're going to make it themselves. All excited, she heads straight to the kitchen. She greets the chefs politely with a bright, "Good day," and asks if she can borrow the kitchen for a little while. The chefs look visibly uncomfortable. Clearly, they're not used to nobles cooking. They hesitate, wondering aloud if the Countess isn't allowed to cook. Angelica assures them that's not the case, they just need a few minutes. She can see they're worried she'll mess up their workspace, so she offers confidently that if they're that uneasy, they can assign someone to watch over her. The chefs exchange glances and finally agree. With that, Angelica secures her spot in the kitchen. She's practically glowing with excitement now. The vegetables and meat are all prepped and fresh, it's totally worth cooking with. Though, honestly, she thinks it's kinda wild having to make everything from scratch when modern people could just grab it from the supermarket. Lara watches curiously and asks if Angelica has any cooking experience. Angelica nods and says yes, back at her parents' house, she used to cook for her family. Still, she can tell they have no idea about her work at the Knight's Order, so she plans to keep that little detail a secret. The prep work is finally done. She then asks Nej to bring over and prepare a high chair. One of the maids nearby nods but looks curious about what Angelica's up to. Angelica explains that she's going to let Nej help with the final touches. The cooks instantly get nervous, warning that Nej shouldn't be anywhere near fire. Angelica quickly reassures them Nej's job isn't about fire. She's just going to make the shapes. The entire kitchen is in chaos, every chef looks utterly confused. Nej is there, practically bouncing on her feet, thrilled to see Angelica. But Angelica, walking in with her usual calm authority, thanks her for coming and says she wants her help with dinner. That single line instantly deflates Nej's excitement, her bright eyes dim, and she quietly pulls her hand away, disappointment written all over her face. Angelica, catching that reaction right away, quickly adds that making dinner herself is actually fun, plus, she likes knowing exactly what ingredients are going in. Nej blinks at her, a little unsure, wondering if that's not kind of scary in itself. Angelica smiles knowingly. Of course, she knew that thought would cross Nej's mind. She tells Nej they should make the dinner together, which instantly brings that spark of joy back. Nej nods eagerly, says okay, and runs off to wash her hands. When she returns, Angelica gently ties an apron around her and says that they'll start by making gyoza. Every chef in the kitchen freezes. Gyoza? Their faces scream confusion. None of them have any idea what that even is. Angelica catches on immediately, of course they wouldn't know, when she decides to play it up. She straightens with an overly serious look and announces to the room that surely they must know about the great chef Chakla, whose legendary gyoza variations are said to number in the hundreds. No, wait, scratch that, they'd exceeded thousands. The chefs exchange uncertain glances, whispering among themselves, trying to recall if they've somehow missed this mythical chef Chakla. Angelica keeps a perfect poker face, though inside she's cracking up. Even she has no clue who Chi or Chakla is, it's a total made-up story on the spot, but she commits to the bit like a pro. Turning back to Nej, she tells her to watch carefully, first do this, then that, and finally close it up. It's been a while since Angelica last made them, but her movements are still smooth, precise, and confident. The little dumplings look perfect, and the kitchen smells amazing already. Nej peers at them closely, fascinated. She calls them cute, describing them as small and fluffy, which instantly short-circuits Angelica's brain for a moment. Still, the fact that Nej is this interested makes her heart melt a little. Nej, now fully hyped, can't wait to make them herself. Angelica has already prepared the filling safe, healthy, and perfectly fine for kids to eat, so there's no worry. The whole scene feels cozy and warm, like a slice of happiness tucked into a chaotic kitchen, with laughter, steam, and the sound of gyoza sizzling away. Angelica is honestly so hopeful that Nej will like at least one of the gyoza she's made. Nej is done with her filling now, and she turns to her mom, eyes sparkling, asking her to look at the shape she's crafted. Angelica bends down, gives it a close look, and tells her she's really good at it and she's not lying at all. Nej is actually good at this. It's almost unbelievable that this is her first time making it. She's not just cute, she's got seriously skilled hands. Lara, who's been watching the whole thing, can't help but chime in, saying Nej is really good at this. Angelica glances at Lara, her expression softening, and asks if she wants to help too. Lara blinks, surprised, then grins and asks if she really can. And just like that, the kitchen turns into a full-on team event. Everyone's busy now: Nij, Lara, Angelica, and even the chefs who had been watching from the sidelines. The atmosphere shifts, laughter and chatter fill the air as they shape, fill, and seal each gyoza. The chefs are amazed; they didn't expect something so simple to look this good. The neat little dumplings lined up on the trays look like art, and the dish itself feels oddly inspiring, like it's breathing new life into the kitchen. Finally, it's time to cook. The sizzling sound fills the air, and that mouth-watering aroma wraps around everyone. The smell is so good that it's impossible not to smile. When they're done, Angelica carefully plates the golden gyoza and gives the first one to Nij. But as soon as she does, she notices Nij hesitating. The little girl stares at the food like she's not sure if she should really eat it. Angelica's expression softens again. She gently reassures her that she doesn't have to force herself; they can always make it again. That does it. Nej's eyes flash with determination. She picks up her chopsticks, takes a deep breath, and finally takes a bite. Her expression brightens instantly, and she says that it's really delicious. The moment she says that, the whole kitchen lights up. Everyone is cheering that she's actually eating it. Angelica's heart feels full, like genuinely full. She's so happy Nij is eating properly. Even the chefs, who were just quietly observing earlier, are smiling. They're whispering that if Nij herself is eating it, then this might actually be a breakthrough. Hope fills the room like warm sunlight. But then something feels off. Angelica tilts her head slightly. There's this faint sense in her gut that maybe this wasn't such a great idea after all. Before she can even voice it, a loud voice cuts through the kitchen. What is this noise? And why is everything in such a mess? The room freezes. Every sound dies instantly, and there, standing at the doorway with an expression sharp enough to cut glass, is Shira, looking so done with all of it, ready to hear exactly what's going on. She sees that everyone in the kitchen suddenly freezes, too extra scared to even move. For a moment, she wonders if it's wrong for her to even be here. Nij and Aiding both turn their heads, realizing who has just arrived. Her father stands there, his glare sharp enough to slice through the warm air of the kitchen. Angelica can tell immediately he's furious. His presence alone shifts the entire mood. Shira, trying to smooth things over, steps in quickly and asks Nij what she's eating. Nij, cheerful as always, answers with a bright smile, "Gyoza." He turns his cold eyes to Lara, demanding to know what that is. Lara explains that it's a dish created by a great chef, light, crispy, and comforting. Then he asks, with a tightening jaw, who made it. Nij, proud and glowing with excitement, points out that she and Angelica made it together. His eyes flicker, disbelief cutting through his stern expression. Angelica, meanwhile, thinks that honesty is supposed to be a good thing, but right now, she really wishes Nij wasn't so honest. He walks toward her, his steps heavy with authority, and tells her calmly, too calmly, that he wants to talk. Would she come to his room for a moment? As she walks beside him, Angelica notices the route. It's the same way that leads back toward her parents' house. There's something painfully nostalgic about it, like a quiet reminder of the world she left behind. When they reach his office, he gestures for her to enter. The dim light hits her face, and she realizes this might be the first and last memory she'll have with Nij that feels this heavy. He breaks the silence first. His tone softens, just slightly, as he says it's been a year since he last saw Nij eating this happily. There's disbelief in his eyes, almost like he's trying to figure out how this stranger managed to do what no one else could. Even the top chefs in the mansion have failed to make Nij eat properly. Angelica explains quietly that she only helped a little with the cooking. She thought that if Nij could participate, it might make her feel safe, like the food wasn't something to fear anymore. He studies her for a long moment before asking, out of nowhere, who told her about Joanna. The question hits harder than she expects. Angelica shakes her head slightly and says no one told her anything. She just overheard that Nij was afraid of eating, and she guessed something might have been mixed into her food before. For the first time, his expression shifts. He looks at her differently, realizing she's more perceptive than he gave her credit for. Angelica exhales slowly and admits that she kind of understands what that's like. She's experienced something similar before, in another life, on a date arranged by her family, where even trust felt like a luxury. And in that quiet, tense office, her words hang between them, soft but heavy, a blend of pain, instinct, and quiet empathy that even he can't ignore. He had slipped a sleeping pill into her drink while she was in the restroom. When she came back, he tried to drag her toward a motel, but fate intervened. Someone passing by noticed and helped her escape. Even now, thinking about that night sends chills through her. Yet, What truly broke her wasn't the assault attempt itself, but her parents' reaction at the hospital. Her mother's words still burn in her memory, cold and unforgiving. Why did she resist? Back to the present, Shira's sudden question pulls her out of that dark memory. He asks her who it was. Angelica blinks, confused, unsure what he's referring to. When he clarifies, the person who did that to her, she freezes for a second before quietly saying that she handed the man over to the military. She's puzzled by why he even knows about it, let alone brings it up. Trying to ease the tension, she assures him that it didn't become a big issue, so there's nothing for him to worry about. But Shira's next words make her stop breathing for a moment. His voice drops low, calm, but too serious as he says that yes, it's true. She was poisoned, and it's honestly a miracle she survived. Her pulse spikes. The air feels suddenly heavier. She manages to ask if the culprit was Joanna. He nods slowly. Yes, Joanna, his ex-wife, and Nej's mother. Angelica's eyes widen, disbelief washing over her. The idea that a mother could harm her own child feels unreal. But Shira shakes his head gently. No, Joanna hadn't meant to hurt Nej. Her real target had been him. He explains, voice laced with bitterness, that his ex-wife had been having an affair with a lower noble. Together, they plotted to kill him and seize the Knightley Clunt family for themselves. She prepared a poisoned snack with the help of a servant, planning to serve it to him later. But fate twisted cruelly. Nej was there at the time, a little girl who simply asked if she could taste it first. Without thinking, he handed it to her himself. Angelica feels her heart sink. She asks quietly what happened afterward. Shira sighs, his eyes dim with old grief. He tells her that Joanna actually loved her daughter deeply. When she realized Nej had eaten the poison instead of him, she broke completely. She took her own life soon after, leaving behind a suicide note soaked in guilt and despair. Because of the poison's effects, Nej lost all memories of her mother. That's why she doesn't remember her at all. Angelica finally understands. This is why the head chef didn't want her in the kitchen earlier, because the kitchen was where the tragedy began. After that day, Nej stopped eating entirely. Her body unconsciously rejected food, as if it still feared the poison that nearly killed her. Shira had tried everything, hired countless chefs, ordered countless dishes, but none of it worked. Angelica is stunned by that realization. He really went that far, changing chefs over and over again, just for his daughter's sake. Then something else clicks in her mind. The rumors. The gossip she's heard that Shira is a picky eater, that he's a womanizer, arrogant, cold. But now, sitting across from him, hearing the truth in his voice, she starts to see it differently. Shira smirks faintly, a little tired, a little defiant. He says people are just jealous that he became a marquis at such a young age. Let them talk, he doesn't care anymore. His mentality is steel, forged by pain and persistence. Then his expression softens, almost playfully, but his words carry a weight that catches her off guard. He admits that, now, he kind of understands how jealous he feels. Because right now, he's jealous of her. Angelica blinks, completely thrown off. Jealous? Of her? What for? She hasn't even done anything great yet. He tells her that she's completely wrong. Nej actually likes her more than him. Angelica is utterly shocked at that statement, her mind blank for a moment. In her understanding, Nej has always seemed scared of him. She rarely even sees the two of them talk. Angelica assumes it's all due to a lack of communication between father and daughter. After all, does he ever play with her? Or praise her, even once? No, he only ever scolds her. His reaction to her words seems obvious, but it's also clear that Nej herself doesn't really know how to interact with Shira either. The distance between them is painfully mutual. Angelica remembers when someone once asked the little girl if she disliked Shira. She shook her head back then, quietly, without hesitation. Angelica exhales softly, deciding that it's probably time to leave now. Lara and the others are waiting for her. She stands and turns to go, but Shira suddenly calls out for her to wait. She stops mid-step, turning back with a hint of unease. Does he have something else to ask? For a moment, she worries, did she somehow make him angry? But no! His expression is calm as he explains that while he always seems busy, he can't exactly order his servants to help him make his daughter like him. Then he adds something that leaves her speechless. Angelica is his wife, at least in name, so he wants her to help him build a better relationship with Nej. She just stares at him, internally screaming, what the hell is this? Acting so distant during their first meeting, and now he suddenly wants her to help him bond with his daughter? The nerve. She feels her frustration boiling up. He should just go talk to his daughter himself instead of dragging her into this. Still, she bites back her words. She wants to resolve this quickly, to make things move forward. Besides, If she doesn't help strengthen this broken family bond soon, everything might spiral out of control and she can't afford that. If they keep drifting apart, the future she knows from the game might actually come true. The tragedy could happen again. In the game story, Nej's biological mother had already taken her life. After that, a rebellion erupted toward the end of the year. Shira, leading the suppression army, would be killed in battle, and the mansion along with all its servants would be burned to ashes by the rebels. Nej would survive, but only to return and lose everything, including Angelica herself. She clenches her fists, determination glinting in her eyes. She has to stop the war before it happens. She won't let the same fate repeat. Lara, standing beside her, notices the change in her expression and gently asks if she's planning to do something. Angelica forces a small smile and brushes it off, saying she's just thankful for the tea Lara brought. But deep down, her mind is spinning with plans. The knowledge she remembers from the game might be the only thing that can help her now. It has been 2 weeks since she arrived here, and in that short time, she's already realized just how fragile everything is. The rebellion could ignite at any moment. She doesn't know exactly how, but she's certain of one thing: she'll do whatever it takes to prevent it. Lara says that Angelica needs to learn more about this country and the Count's territory. She feels genuinely delighted, finding it rare for a noble woman to read books by herself. Most noble ladies never bother with such things. Many believe that reading or working isn't their job at all. The literacy rate among nobles is actually pretty low, the total opposite of what one might expect from the real world. Angelica, on the other hand, has already mastered this country's writing system from a young age. It might be because she once played this world's game and learned through that. She reads now with quiet focus, her eyes skimming across the page to see what it says about this place she's found herself in. The Kingdom of Eclaton, the book explains, was founded 500 years ago as a land of magic. Those who greatly contributed to its foundation were blessed by the spirits themselves, gaining powers beyond human understanding, powers to create fire and wind, the very beginning of what became known as magic. These blessed individuals eventually became the high-ranking nobles of the realm, which is why, even now, only those of noble blood can wield magic. This knowledge never appeared in the game she played before, so it feels both strange and educational to her. She realizes that Nej can also use magic. Lara mentions it casually, asking if Angelica had known about it before. Internally, Angelica wants to cry out, because once again she's forced to make something up on the spot. Pretending to recall, she says that Nej had mentioned it the other day. Lara quickly apologizes for forgetting, but Angelica feels the guilt twist inside her. If anything, it should be her apologizing instead. She decides to ask how much magic Nej can actually use. Lara explains that Nej can make flowers bloom and revive dead plants, and she can use basic spells now and then. Thanks to her, the garden doesn't need any maintenance at all. In fact, Lara reveals that there are 3 spirits fond of Nej who take care of the garden in her place. The mystery of the perfectly kept garden without servants finally makes sense. After the servants who conspired with Joanna were dismissed, Shira stopped hiring new staff altogether. Instead, she only kept a cook. But ever since that incident, she's made the cook double as a guard too. Many servants quit because of that strange requirement. Shira might speak calmly, but Angelica realizes that marrying her must be a risky move for any man. She wonders just how desperate he must be. Then, Nej comes running toward her mother, calling out to her with pure excitement. Angelica joins in, calling her name with warmth. Nej asks if she's finished studying for the day, and Angelica praises her softly, patting her head, telling her she's done a really good job. That bright smile on Nej's face is truly angelic, glowing with innocent joy. After that day, Angelica keeps having Nej help her with food preparation. She feels safe eating something she made herself, and over time, she starts to gain a little weight. Her complexion improves, her skin turning healthy and vibrant again. Everyone around her quietly hopes she'll stop resisting food altogether. Nej nudges her gently, wanting her to listen. She says she wants to go out with her mother. Seeing Angelica's surprised reaction, Nej tilts her head, wondering if she isn't allowed. But Angelica assures her that it's not like that. They can go. What Angelica doesn't realize, though, is that outside, waiting for her, is someone from her past. Someone whose sudden reunion will change everything. Inside the carriage, Nej seems absolutely thrilled to be going out with her mother. Her excitement fills the small space like sunlight, and Angelica can't help but smile too. For once, she feels genuinely happy after all. She's always either trapped inside the mansion or lingering around the garden. Even back in the game, the Count's territory had a strong reputation. It was nicknamed the Fortress City, which made her expect something rough, cold, and military-like. But as the scenery rolls past the carriage window, she realizes how wrong she was. This place is actually peaceful, lively, and surprisingly beautiful. Lara announces that they'll soon enter the urban district. Both Angelica and Nej immediately lean toward the window, curiosity shining in their eyes. Outside, the streets are full of laughter and chatter. The market is alive with the buzz of people, colorful stalls, and the soft perfume of freshly bloomed flowers covering almost every corner. Nej gasps in delight when she spots a cat trotting by, her eyes sparkling like she's discovered treasure. Angelica can't help but enjoy herself too. This is Nej's first time visiting the city, and seeing her little one's excitement makes every moment feel special. Wanting to make the most of it, Angelica asks Lara if there's any other place they could stop by besides the restaurant. Lara pauses thoughtfully before suggesting they visit a nearby toy shop. She explains that it's quite popular in the city and that Nej would definitely love it. Angelica agrees instantly, and Lara tells the driver to take the next left turn. As they ride on, Angelica curiously asks Lara how she knows so much about this area. Lara smiles softly, saying that she was actually born and raised in this city. No wonder she knows every corner like the back of her hand. When they finally arrive at the toy store, Angelica notices that it's absolutely packed. It's the only shop in the whole region that specializes in children's items, which explains its popularity. Knights accompanying them move to help Nej down from the carriage, but Angelica quickly waves them off, saying she can handle it herself. She scoops Nej up with ease, a hint of pride flickering in her eyes. No one should underestimate the strength of a former cook. The shopkeeper notices their arrival and comes over with a warm smile. She recognizes Lara immediately and greets her cheerfully. Lara greets her back, introducing Angelica as the Count's wife. The shopkeeper's eyes widen, and she quickly calls out for someone upstairs, her husband, apparently to come down and greet their noble guest. The couple bows respectfully to Angelica, who tries her best to stay composed even though she's dying of awkwardness inside. Around them, murmurs ripple through the crowd as people whisper to each other, wondering if this elegant woman is truly the Count's wife. For Angelica, the attention feels overwhelming. She's never been great at handling these situations. Every polite bow and every whisper just makes her want to disappear. Still, she focuses on Nej, who is already pointing excitedly at a shelf filled with toys she seems to like. But as Angelica looks closer, confusion hits her. Almost every toy Nej points to looks oddly familiar. If she's not mistaken, Nej already owns most of them back at the mansion. They all seem to be from this exact shop too. Now she's caught in a mini crisis. What on earth is she supposed to buy when her daughter already has everything here? The truth is, Angelica doesn't really know much about toys at all. In her past life, she never had any dolls, no games, no fun little things to play with. Standing there in the middle of the colorful shop, surrounded by laughter and warmth, she realizes just how unfamiliar yet comforting this feeling is. For once, she's living a moment that feels both ordinary and precious, and she's not sure if she wants it to end. Lara brings out one of the toys from the nearby shelf for suggestion, holding it up with an eager smile. It's a large, neatly packed crayon set, bright, colorful, and obviously high-end. She explains enthusiastically that this particular set was released just last month and is currently super popular. According to her, even professional artists use this one for coloring, and the ingredients are completely safe for children. Lara's tone carries the perfect mix of excitement and persuasion, her words flowing so naturally that Angelica can't help but think she'd make an incredible salesperson. Still, Angelica doesn't want to make the decision herself. She crouches slightly, setting Nej down and telling her to pick whatever she wants. The little girl immediately darts toward the painting area, her eyes lighting up with pure joy. She exclaims that she loves painting, her small hands already reaching for brushes and color sets. Seeing her excitement, Angelica smiles softly and says they should get it. It's a bit expensive, definitely on the pricier side, but she silently hopes that Shiro won't mind when he sees the bill. When they move to check out, Lara takes care of the payment details. The shop owner, however, frowns a little and teases her, saying that pushing products onto customers isn't exactly a good habit. Lara just leans toward the older man behind the counter, her grandfather, apparently, and whispers for him to keep it down. Angelica catches the interaction and can't help but smile faintly to herself. So this is a family business, she realizes. It explains the warm atmosphere and Lara's confidence about everything in the store. With the purchase done, they finally step out of the shop. Angelica feels a lightness in her chest. Nej is clutching her new crayon set happily, and seeing that spark in her eyes makes the whole trip worthwhile. As they make their way toward the carriage, Angelica is lost in that peaceful moment until a voice suddenly calls out behind her. Is that her? The sound of it freezes her in place. She turns slowly, her heart pounding, and there she is. Charlotte. Charlotte stands there with the same poised, polished grace she's always had, her expression unreadable but her tone carrying that familiar mix of surprise and mockery. "Long time no see," she says lightly, as if their past isn't buried under a mountain of tension. Angelica's mind spins in disbelief. Why is Charlotte here, of all places? Lara notices her pale face and glances between them, quietly asking if she knows this woman. Angelica forces her trembling lips to move and replies that this is her sister Charlotte. Charlotte's lips curl into a small, knowing smile as she greets Lara, introducing herself smoothly as Angelica's elder sister. Lara nods politely, returning the greeting and introducing herself in turn. Then Charlotte bends slightly toward Nedge, her eyes softening just enough to look convincing. "Such a lovely child," she says sweetly before glancing back at Angelica. Her next words, though, land like a blade dash, "But she isn't hers, right?" Angelica stiffens. She can feel those sharp, evaluating glances as Charlotte studies her and Nedge, clearly testing something, measuring every tiny detail. It's not safe, she can tell instantly. Her instincts scream caution. Without wasting another second, she turns to one of the knights accompanying them and gently hands Nedge over. She pats Nedge's head softly, telling her to wait inside the carriage. The little girl nods, still smiling, completely unaware of the tension simmering in the air. "Okay," she says cheerfully before being led away by the knight. Angelica watches her daughter disappear into the safety of the carriage before turning back toward her sister. Angelica explains to Charlotte that, regarding the earlier question, the child Nedge is not hers, she is the child of Shura and her husband. Charlotte looks at Nedge and thinks that, in that case, the girl must resemble her mother a lot. But Angelica knows in her heart that, actually, Nedge resembles her father more. Angelica then asks Charlotte why she is here. Charlotte replies that she came to buy a new dress and that Ryan told her she could get as many as she wants. She scoffs, saying he should not have said that in front of her. Angelica answers that she is actually glad that Charlotte is happy too. Charlotte remarks that, still, for someone like Angelica to become the mother of the Count's daughter, the child is truly unlucky. Angelica responds softly that she also feels sorry for that. Inwardly, Angelica tries to endure this foolish talk because if she does not, she might say something unnecessary. As Charlotte departs, she adds one last comment telling Angelica to make sure not to get abandoned by the Count's family as well. Lara, who has been standing nearby, begins trembling with anger. She shouts at Charlotte, demanding to know what is wrong with her for saying such cruel things about Angelica. But Angelica tells her to calm down. She is used to receiving insults, and she just wants to let it slide. After all, it is at least better than being hit. She then heads back to the carriage. Inside, Nedge greets her cheerfully, saying she was waiting for her. This little girl is certainly something so bright and adorable. Lara, who is sitting beside them, turns to Angelica and says that before returning to the mansion, there is a place she wants to stop by. Angelica answers softly that she does not mind and agrees. Angelica notices that they are advancing toward the forest, and confusion flickers across her face. She wonders where exactly Lara is planning to take her. The moment they step out, however, her confusion softens into quiet awe. The trees open up into a wide meadow. Lara mentions that around this time of year, the field is usually overflowing with violet blooms, but this year, it seems like they didn't blossom. Angelica thinks it's a real shame. She notices the faint melancholy in Lara's voice and realizes she's trying to comfort her despite the disappointment. Angelica smiles softly and tells Lara that they'll come back again someday and enjoy the sight together. Lara straightens up, ready to move on, but Angelica still thanks her sincerely, appreciating the effort regardless of the outcome. Nedge, watching all this quietly, suddenly steps closer. There's a flicker of determination in her eyes, and she asks if Angelica really wants to see the flowers. Angelica admits she does, but adds gently that for today, they should probably head back home. Nedge shakes her head no. She refuses to give up so easily. She wants to show the flowers to her right now. In that instant, Nedge channels her powers. The air shifts, soft light swirls through the meadow as magic pulses from her small hands. Before their eyes, the entire field bursts into color, violet flowers blooming one after another until the once barren meadow transforms into a sea of purple. The petals shimmer under the sunlight, and Angelica and Lara are completely speechless. They can't believe that Nedge made all of this happen on her own. Angelica's chest tightens with emotion as she thanks Nedge. She whispers that it's truly beautiful, but as she turns to look at her, her heart drops. There's no response from Nedge. Panic sparks instantly. Nedge is unconscious, her small body trembling with fever. Angelica's voice cracks as she calls out to Lara, telling her that they need to head back to the mansion right now. Without wasting a second, they rush through the forest path, desperation pushing every step. The doctor arrives swiftly after they return and checks Nej's condition. His expression softens as he explains that it's a case of magic depletion. He tells them that when a large amount of magic power is consumed all at once, it drains the body severely, leading to exhaustion and fever. He asks gently if Nej used her powers before her condition worsened. Angelica nods immediately, explaining that she used her magic to make the flowers bloom across the meadow. The doctor confirms that it's likely to cause but assures them not to worry. After a few days of proper rest, she'll be back to normal. Angelica thanks the doctor with relief as he gathers his things and takes his leave. But once he's gone, Lara's guilt spills over. She apologizes again and again, blaming herself for taking them to that place. If only she hadn't, Nej wouldn't have pushed herself this far. Angelica shakes her head no, it wasn't Lara's fault. It was hers. She should have stopped Nej, should have realized how much strain the spell would take. Her mind flashes back to the story of Juliana, the protagonist in the game, how she once overused her magic and collapsed from the same condition. Now, seeing her daughter lying weak in bed, Angelica feels the same crushing weight of failure. She can't grasp her daughter's magic, can't protect her from herself. And in that quiet moment, the thought hits her hard she failed as a mother. Nej finally opens her eyes. Angelica's heart floods with relief the moment she sees those sleepy, glassy eyes flutter open. She leans in instantly, asking softly if Nej feels any pain anywhere. Nej blinks slowly and says she's just feeling a little dizzy. Angelica smiles warmly and reassures her that it's okay if she just rests a bit longer, she'll be all good again. Then, Nej looks up and asks if the flowers she made were pretty. The question hits Angelica right in the chest. Her eyes well up as she nods, whispering that they were really, really beautiful. She thanks Nej for making something so magical, her voice trembling between pride and guilt. Nej